All right, I think we're live. Welcome everyone to the CNC with Dave Gatton show. You know who I am. This other guy with me here is Mr. Michael Murray from, let's see, Mighty Mike's Woodshop. It's been so long since I've said it, I about forgot what it was.
Yeah, I
Uh,
kind of forget most of the time too.
well, Mike, I'm so happy you were able to join us tonight. And while you're on here, let's go ahead and give everybody the McKenna update.
Yeah, so the good news is that the radiation is only going to have to be in her kidney area where they removed her kidney. Her lungs came back clear, and the pathology report came back stating that the chemo that we're on the path and the dose is the perfect one, and that's what we'll continue doing. So hopefully the end of June will be the last chemo, and somewhere in there will be 2 weeks of radiation. Just don't know when yet, but those were the good things that we found out today.
Okay, well that's certainly some great news, and I'm very happy for that. Um, just gonna mention a couple of other things here. Um, I guess y'all figured out we're going to be talking about wiring up drivers and stepper motors and power supplies and all that good kind of stuff. I thought I would kind of throw this together. This is kind of back here behind me here is kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, but I've thrown it together just enough to be able to do this little show tonight and talk about stuff because I still see a lot of questions on Facebook about how to do this or that, and and I'm not, don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not an electronic guy. Anybody that knows me knows that I'm, I've been touting the plug and play stuff for 10, 15 years now, because that's what I like. But it is good to know how to do some of this stuff. And since the Xylotex is no longer offering, I say he's no longer offering, but I checked his website today, and he still has the photo of the complete kit with the drive box, the metal box with the 4 steppers. He just doesn't have any steppers, so he's got a 0 price on it, and obviously you can't purchase it. But he still has the well, I guess it's I forget what he calls it, but it's like the drive board, I think is what he calls it. And in fact, I looked the other day, and when I saw that, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get one. So I bought another one. So I've got an extra one, and y'all have seen this before. So this is pretty much the same thing he used to offer, and the last here lately he was offering it in the metal case. But you got your breakout board, you got your power supply, you got a couple of fans, you got your 4 drivers. So this is, it's not exactly a plug and play kit like you used to do because it's missing the stepper motors, but it's the next best thing because all of this other wire, all the wiring for the drivers, the fans, the breakout board, all that is done. The only thing you would have to do is get you some stepper motors, and you can get stepper motors pretty much anywhere. Stepper Online's got some good ones, but all you have to do is wire just those 4 wires from each stepper motor to the driver, and you're done. So this is still going to be a good option for folks who don't feel comfortable doing what we're going to be talking about tonight. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. Another thing I wanted to talk about is let's see. I think I'm going to try to change the format of the show a little bit. You look, I've been doing these shows for a long time, and we've just beat to death some of these topics because it just goes in cycles, and we cover them, every 3 months or something like that. We talk about stuff, and so I want to kind of change the format of the show a little bit. It's it's obviously getting old to me because I've talked about certain topics probably half a dozen different times over the years. But yes, there are fans in that. If you're talking about that Xylotex thing I was just holding up, there's 2 little fans. If you're going to buy that and build yourself an enclosure to put it in, you probably want to add a bigger AC fan is what I would do. Make it where it comes on when you flip the controller on. But anyway, yeah, I think I'm going to change the format a little bit, and I think I'm probably going to cut back and not do a show every Saturday. I'll probably start doing them like the first and third Saturday of the month. Just do a couple shows a month. And since having said that, now notice next month, the third Saturday of the month is the 16th, which is when the Atlanta Woodworking Show is going to be here. So I'm not going to plan to do a show for sure that weekend. And I've sent a message to Jat from Hein Technology. If y'all remember Jat, he's been on my show before. But I'm going to try to get him. I'm hoping he can come back on the 23rd of March. But I want to revisit the Masso controller as well. They have made, back when I had Matt on the show, we did a giveaway for one of these. As a matter of fact, I don't know, quite a while ago. But anyway, when we did that, he actually sent me one of these. And that's kind of where a lot of this stuff came. I bought all this stuff so that I could test this out. And they have made, that's been a couple of years ago, I guess. So they have made a ton of changes, improvements, added new features and things. So I want to try to get Jack back on the show and revisit this Masso, because that's another good option for some people. And you can see by looking at that, all the different connections it's got. This thing will do everything. And it runs its own proprietary software. You don't need a computer. You do need, it's got a place, I guess right there where you plug in a monitor, and it now has, they've added where you can use a mouse with it as well, I think. Just a lot of new features. So I want to get him back on here and talk about that again. Let's see. Glenn says, I just received my Xylotex Dave just showed. Yeah, that's like I said, that's in my mind, that's still a really good option for somebody, because it's not hard to wire the stepper motors to the driver. We're going to talk about that and show how to figure out which wires what on a stepper motor here in just a minute. But I think that's still an excellent system. I don't know what the deal is, why he's out of steppers and why he's having trouble getting them. I don't know the details, but like I said, I looked on his website probably a week or two ago, and I saw that, and I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and buy one while he's got them available. And then right after that, he had them, they were gone. And now I looked again today, and they're back on there. So still a good choice. You can get, stepper motors from Stepper Online, or, anywhere on Amazon, really. Because stepper motors, there's a little bit of difference, but it's not like the other electronics where you got to make sure you don't get some junk. Okay. So we're going to change the format of the show, and really what I want to do is, it's starting to get warmer here. We had a really nice day today, and I'd like to be able to get back out in the garage and start doing the show from back out there. If I have a topic where it's better to, be able to have a machine to show whatever the topic is about. So I want to try to do that. So probably be first and third Saturdays of the month. Best way to do is watch Facebook, or, hit the bell, subscribe and hit the bell here, and you get notifications. So you'll know when I'm going to do them. And like I said, March it'll probably be the first Saturday, which is the second, and the 23rd, which is really the fourth Saturday, because of the woodworking show, March 15th, 16th, and 17th here in Atlanta. So yeah, no shave February. That's right, Mark. Okay, so let's get started talking about this wire jungle back here behind me here. Hey, Barbara, are you interviewing for the? Yeah. So we're going to talk about this back here behind me. This, and I want to say right off the rip here that this is not a one size fits all how to do wire up a CNC. There's so many different combinations, a lot of different drivers, a lot of different breakout boards, all that kind of stuff. And so there's no way I could ever do a show and say, okay, this is the way you wire it and that's it. It's just not going to happen. But this is for this show here, or this little demonstration here, this is what I'm using. I've got and everything that I talk about tonight, you see me hold up something, there are links down below in the show description where you can go find all of this stuff. They are Amazon links, so or Amazon affiliate links, I should say. So if you click on it and go buy something, yeah, I make a little nickel or something. But if you don't want to, support me in that way, go to Amazon, find it yourself. That's all I can say. All right, so here's the. This is from Stepper Online. These are DM542Ts. These are great little drivers, not that expensive. And you'll notice back here that 3 of these look bigger than this one. The one on top is the Stepper Online, but they're basically the same. These are from that other company that I bought. I don't even like to mention their name. I'll let you read it if you want to, but I had a bad experience with them, so I'm not going to plug their products. But these other 3, you can see how they're thicker, and it's because they have the heat sink on the back of them. The Stepper Online does not. Okay, but they're basically the same. This one says DM542A. This one says DM542T, and if you look, about the only difference is the screen printing on the cover. So they're all made pretty much the same place. All right, so that's the drivers that I'm using. These 2 power supply.
Dave, real quick question for you. Does it matter like what steppers you have, like to what program, like the Mach 3? Does it matter? Like only certain drivers will work with Mach 3 versus?
No, I think if you got stepper drivers, you're pretty much going to be able to use UC CNC or Mach 3 or whatever you want to use. You just need to make sure your drivers, and your power supply, that you've got the right power requirements to drive your drivers and stuff. Now notice this kit, back when I bought it, it came with 4 of these drivers here, and it came with 2 power supplies. This power supply over here did not come with it. That's a little 5-volt power supply, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But these 2 are 36-volt DC power supplies. Some places when you buy the kit, you'll get 1 power supply that's 60 volt or whatever, that's got enough to run everything, and you can run all 4 of them off of that. Some of them have 2 power supplies. I've even seen some of the bigger kits with the bigger motors that have 3 power supplies. So you just have to make sure that you got all this, you got enough power to run. And what the reason there's 2 power supplies here is the one here on top, right above my finger, is going to this driver and this driver. and this one down here is going to these other two. So you may not be able to see it because I don't think it's real clear, the picture. But down here where I've got the stepper motors on this board, I've got them labeled X, Y, Z, and A. And the drivers are not, let's see, X, Y, Z. Yeah, I think they are. They're starting, the top is X, then you've got the Y, then you got the Z, and then you've got the A down here on the bottom. I thought I saw a question in there somewhere. Joe, in answer to your question, one reason I like Stepper Online is, I mean, let's face it, none of this stuff is made in the U.S. anymore. You know, we don't make much anything, I hate to say, but we don't. I think the big difference between Stepper Online and some of these other companies is they're all made from some factory in China, but Stepper Online is in the U.S. So, you know, or at least they have distributors here in the U.S. So I think when they get them in, they do an additional quality control, because just to give you the quick background story on this is a kit I bought. Again, I'm not going to mention the company because I refuse to say their name and plug them, but you can read it if you want. It was a 4-axis kit, and right out of the box, one of the drivers was completely dead, wouldn't even light up. And then I had another one that lit up, so I thought it was good, but then after I got everything hooked up and started testing it, it worked, but it didn't work right. It would not do the right number of steps, and I ended up having to swap it out. That's why there is an oddball, a Stepper Online, up there on the top, and they're not all for this kind. So that, you know, like I said, if I was going to buy anything, yeah, it's probably going to end up originally come from China, but I want to try to buy it from someplace where I know it's going to do some more QC on it. Because if you look right here, and this, like I said, this one's dead. It's got the little QC sticker right there saying it was QC checked. So it's the other, I got another one just like it in the other room there that's just a dud. So anywho, I think that Stepper Online does a better job. I think maybe they, you know, when they get their stuff in, they QC it, and if it's not any good, they throw it out, and the other company probably just sends it on. But the main reason I don't want to even mention this company's name is because it's not so much that the stuff, you know, one of them arrived dead and the other one was half dead. It's that their customer service sucked. They didn't want to send me another one. You know, they said, well, you can get it fixed over there. And I'm like, look, I bought a 4-axis kit. I got to have 4 drivers. And I had to go back and forth with them. And finally, after I put kind of a negative review on Amazon, they got all hissy. And I said, you're not, you know, what'd you expect? So they finally did send me 1 replacement. And of course, like I said, it ended up being 2 bad, 2 of them that were bad. So that's why I got a Stepper Online, and then the rest of them are that other company. Javi's joined us. Welcome, Javi.
Evening, all.
Did you bring a note from the principal?
I brought a note from the principal. My apologies for being late. We had a friend had a confirmation, and well, it ended later than I expected.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
I would have messaged you, but I was a little bored at the celebration, so I was using my phone and it died.
Okay. All right. Well. All right. So let's see. I was looking here for the questions. All right. Some of these questions, it's not that I'm avoiding them. It's just we're going to, you know, I want to try to take this in a kind of a
orderly fashion.
Yeah, an orderly fashion.
Yeah. Rob was commenting that Stepper Online is available in Amazon Australia.
Yeah, I really like the Stepper Online.
Yeah, same here.
Thing. Anywho, hi Patrick, welcome. Glad you decided to come over here.
Oh, he's early.
So I've got two big old one big old dog that's right here in the way. I'm going to real quickly, I'll let Mike and Javi entertain, because I'm going to turn my camera off for a second and move it to this tripod so that we can get a better view of
Of the toy.
Of the toy, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off. Y'all can still hear me.
Sounds good.
But,
Mike, how's everything at home?
Good, Javi. Everything's hanging in there.
Excellent, excellent. Glad to hear. Oh, how's the Gatton treating you?
She's collecting dust.
Yeah.
She should be working back again, hopefully next week.
Too cold out there still?
No, I just haven't been really home enough to get it in there.
Know the feeling. I'm backpedaling through the messages here just to see if there's anything we missed.
Okay, I think that's going to be clear enough to see. Plus, I've got some stuff that I'm going to be holding up closer. If I can get the dog to move, I'll move this even a little.
I don't know, Dave. Those wires are not all in 90-degree angles and color coded.
This is. Let's see if I can. This thing, I got a cheap tripod here too, and this one doesn't tilt. All right, we'll go with that for right now. Let's see if I can get it to tilt a little bit. Okay, that's not too crooked. Okay, so Rocky, you need to move, buddy. Come on, go on in there. All right, so what we're going to start out with here is I'm just going to kind of take you from the very beginning, which starts with that switch up there, and kind of show you how to follow this around. And like I said, this is just for a demonstration. This is not how I would put together a control box, okay? All these wires, a lot of them, I didn't really try to neaten them up any, just because this is a temporary thing, and I'll be probably pulling all this off and doing something else with it later. But all right, now again, I mentioned the all this stuff I'm going to be talking about. I've got links for if you want to find it. There's Amazon affiliate links in the show description. Just drop that down, and you can go right to this stuff. But this is the switch that I use, and these things are really nice. This has got a fuse in that goes right in here, and of course everybody's got power cords left from old dead computers and stuff, and that's what I went with. And again, this is not a nice controller enclosure.
OSHA compliant.
Yeah, because I've got that just kind of screwed onto the side. You got to make sure I don't reach back there and touch those wires, or old Dave will get lit up. But anyway, so I got the switch here. Some folks, this is the kind like you used to seeing in the Xylotex box. These are good switches too, and these are dirt cheap. You can buy these for, I don't know, half a dozen or a dozen of them for little or nothing. And these aren't really that much more either. So that's the switch I use. Got the power cord, of course, running down to an outlet. And what I'm doing is, you can see these wires here are what runs back behind the switch. Oh, and by the way, I should have mentioned, when you go to look on Amazon for this switch, they have a diagram on how to wire this. I meant to take a picture of the back of that to show here, and I forgot, but there is a good wiring diagram right on the Amazon thing where you buy these, so not hard to figure out. So what I've done is I wanted to be able to switch it on with a switch, and I need to power these two 36-volt power supplies and this 5-volt power supply over here. So what this big mess is right here, it is one of these terminal block strips, which I love these things. And again, these things are really cheap. This is a 12 position, which worked out perfect for this because I need to power 3 things. So you can see here, I've just made little loops here. I've got white, black, and green, which are for the line, the neutral, and the ground. And then that gives me where I can run 3 sets of wires off, one going to each power supply here, and then one coming around to this power supply here. Now, some of this stuff, for some of you guys that know all about this stuff, it's going to be old hat, but I'm going to kind of go over it anyway, just for the people who don't know. I've got this power supply. This is out of something else. I think this is one out of one of the old Xylotex boxes. This is this one happens to be a 48 watt. But you can see here, it's got an L. I hope y'all can, I think y'all can see that. It's got an L for the line, N for the neutral, and the ground symbol for the ground. So that's where these set of 3 wires go. Again, the white's the line, the black's the neutral, and the green is the ground. And then it also has, make sure I'm holding this where y'all can see it, volts plus and volts minus. That's the DC volts. So you've got 3 here for the volts plus, 3 here for the volts minus. So you can connect 3 different things that, well, actually you could do more if you needed to double it up. But anyway, now that will take us to these wires down here. You can see I've got a black and a red.
Dave, is that a 48 volt supply?
These 2 are 36.
36.
The one in my hand was a 48.
All right.
This one I just used to be able to show, because I know they can't see everything here. So I'm just trying to hold this up where they can see.
Yeah, and remember, you have to match the supply with the stepper motor needs of the stepper motor or drivers.
We've already covered that. If you'd have been here.
I'm sorry, my bad.
just pulling your chain.
Just reiterating for anyone who might have been late.
Okay, yeah, somebody might have tuned in late and missed that. But anyway, so you can see this power supply is powering this driver and this driver. Just got a red and black, and a red and a black coming from, the red is coming from the V plus, or I guess it's plus V it says, and the black is coming from the minus V. So that will feed that in, and then you can actually check that with your little meter. If you've got a little voltmeter or ohm meter, whatever you call it, set it to volts DC, and you can check. And also there is a way to fine tune this with this little pot right here. Most of these come set for whatever they want. I think when I checked these, one of them was like 36.1 and the other one was 35.9 or something like that. They're going to be really close, pretty much out of the box. So, okay, so I got this power supply powering these 2 drivers. This power supply, same kind of thing. Got the red and the black coming over here, supplying these drivers. And again, let me show you on the driver now where that's going. Because I don't want people to watch this and get hung up on these colors, thinking that this is all color coded. It's not. A lot of these wires, I just used what I had. It's more important to know that this wire goes from the plus volts to the plus volts here. Let's see if I can get that in where y'all can see it. Right there. So it's more important that you know where it goes from and where it goes to than what color wire it is. You know, like I said, I had a bunch of different colored wires out there, so I just kind of used what I had to throw this together.
Yep.
So that's where this is going. The ground, this green or this black wire that's coming from the minus V over here on the power supply is going right here to the ground there. I don't know if you can see that right above my finger, and then the plus V is right there. I really wished, of course, you know, hindsight's 20/20. I really wish when I had done these drivers that I had flipped them a different way, because all the screen printing, the way I've got them, is on the bottom. So I don't know why I ended up doing it that way, but I did.
Oh, space saving.
But I didn't move it around. So, okay, so there's that. That gets the 36 volts to power the driver. Okay, let's see. The other thing we have to do is, I guess we could go ahead and talk about the stepper motor connections. I've got a stepper motor right here. And most of the stepper motors, not all, some of them you can get with 6 and 8 wires, but I like to use the 4-wire stepper motors. And most of them come pretty much with this color combination, although it could differ. Some of them might have a yellow wire in here instead. But this is green, red, blue, and black. Now, the way stepper motors work,
You got to hold it up, Dave. Then you're off the screen. There you go.
All right, thank you, Mike. I'm not going to go into all the technical details of this, but when you turn this, you can feel the little, you know, you can just feel the little clicks as you're turning it. Okay, well, the way the stepper motors work, there's 2 coils in here, so you've got these pairs of wires, 2 pairs of wires, and when you're wiring this, you've got on this driver, you have, right here, you have A plus, A minus is one coil, and then B plus and B minus is another coil. So it doesn't really matter which set of wires you want to call A and which ones you want to call B, but you do have to know which ones match. And the way you find that is, and this is going to be hard for me to hold this up. Let's see, this stupid thing does not. Thought this thing tilted, but it does not, apparently. Anyway, so what you have to do, you take one of these wires, doesn't really matter which one, and you want to take another one and touch them together, and then see if you can turn this. And I can still turn that, so I know that the green and the red are not a matched pair. All right, so now I'm going to take the red and the black. Let's see if those match. And no, I can still turn that with ease, so I know that that's not a match. So the only one I got left here is the blue. So if I take the red and the blue, I can get them together here with my fingers. Okay, now when I put those together, you can turn it, but it takes a lot of effort. You can't turn it. So I now know that the red and the blue are one coil, which means that if I take the black and the green and touch those together, same thing. So I know that I have to wire these up with the red and black to one, either the A plus, either the A coil or the B coil, and then the red and the blue to either the A coil or the B coil.
Hey, Dave, just move that camera a little bit to the left, or.
Oh, did I bump it?
Yeah, you moved it over. Yeah, a little bit more. There you go.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, so again, I don't know if y'all can see. Now you probably can't see that. Let me see if I can take this thing. Make everybody dizzy here. See, I got these wires in the way here too. And it's kind of hard to focus in there. But here, like I said, now these wires, this is where I'm talking about. You need to know more about where the wires goes from and to than so much the color, because notice the 4 wires that I'm using for these stepper motors, and if you notice, these are the color coded. These are from an old Xylotex kit. They don't have a blue wire. They've got red, green, black, and then white instead of blue. So the red and white in this case are the same as the red and blue coming off the stepper, and then the green and black is the other pair. So I've got, the way I have all of these wired, and they're all identical, I have going across, I have red, white, green, and black. But like I said, don't get hung up on the colors as much as knowing what they stand for and where they go.
And the way the motor works is, if to put it very, very simply, imagine, if you will, a lot of little coils, tons of coils all the way around, and the motor is offset. You didn't go over this part, did you, Dave?
No, we haven't.
And simply put, if you put power to one of those coils, it will lock the motor to that position. So it'll be slightly offset from the one above it, or from the one above it. And then when you put power to the next one, it'll move one step incrementally, which is one, what is it? How many steps per revolution for those motors? Well, whatever it is.
200, I believe.
Yeah. And then it's simply putting it that way.
Okay.
That's the motor part of it.
Another thing I want to mention while we're talking about this too is, I already said, I screwed up and I mounted these where all the screen printing is on the bottom, so I'd had to stand on my head and try to read it. Well, fortunately, I had another one that's the same kind, so I can get the information from that. But also, when you're wiring these little plugs pop out. So you can pull, I'm not even in the camera. So you pull this out and you can do your wiring. But again, you have to keep thinking about how it's going to go here. And then you can just push this one back in. And the same thing with this. This one is actually, you've got, well, this one is not even used in this application, but you got this little one here that's got 2. And then you got this one over here. But all these pull out, so you can wire them. It's got the little screw where you open it up, stick the wire in there, and then tighten it down. And then you can just push them back in. So it makes it much easier to go ahead and mount the driver and just pull these plugs off, do your wiring, double check to make sure you've got it correct, and then push it in.
Hey Dave, I might be jumping ahead, but those dip switches on them, do they mean something, or?
Yes, they do, Mike.
Yes, you can open your garage door with them.
Yeah. No, we'll get into that too. I figure nobody's going to be able to see them with this from this view, so I'll probably be showing that up close, holding one of these. But again, to set the dip switches, all the information is here. You just figure out which ones you need to turn off and on, and I'll show you a close up of that here in a little bit. Okay, so coming across the drivers here, we've got the stepper motors wired up. Here we've got the power from the power supply. We're not going to use this enable or disable function right here, but we do use this part here. This is the part where you have to send it to the breakout board to tell it what pins to use. Now, again, I look kind of Christmassy here because I'm using red and green, but it's just because I had some of that wire. But what I decided to do was use the red wire for the step, which if this is the x-axis, so the red wire is going to go up here to this breakout board. And let me back this camera back off a little bit again, so y'all can. This is really okay. Maybe that'll work. So I've got using the red wire for the step and the green wire for the direction, which in this case for the X is going to be, the step is going to be pin 2, the direction is going to be pin 3. And I've got a close-up picture that I can show with a screen share of this breakout board. This is a DB25 12-1205. It's what you'll get if you buy one of those kits from that company that I won't mention. But I have a link to one that's very similar. It's actually a better one than this one in the show notes. So let me see. I'm going to try to, I hope I don't make y'all dizzy, but I'm going to try to get this camera around here and get it focused really close right here. Let's see if I can hold it. Bear with me, folks. I'm trying to get this where y'all can see. And okay, here we go. Now I finally figured out how to tilt this thing. Okay, so and just so I'm gonna point this with a pointer so I don't have my fingers in the way. So we're gonna start down here with this one, and let's see where I'm at. Yeah, right over here. So this first connection on this side is pulse 5 volts. The next one over, which is where the red wire is going to, remember I said the red wire is my my step or my pulse. It is pulse minus on this thing. And maybe getting too blurry now. Okay.
We see it. We see it.
Okay. So the way you need to set these up, or you need to take the plus 5 volts and for the pulse or the step, and the plus 5 volts for the direction, and actually put a little loop. So I think, if I can show this, can you see that little black? It's just a little short black wire where I've trimmed the ends off of both ends, and it runs from the first spot to the third spot, which is
the jumper. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, jumper, exactly. Which is the pulse plus 5 for the direction and step. It just jumps those off. Then I have the one wire right here, which is my black wire, and it is coming over to, it has to get 5 volts from somewhere. So what I did is, let's see, move that right there. This is my 5 volt power supply, and I did the same thing with it that I did with the other one, where I use a terminal block here. So I've got my black and my red coming off. That's going to give me 5 volts, and I've got one here, and then I use one of these little nifty barrier strips right here. Yep. And again, I have a link for those. You can get them in, I think, about 4 or 5 different colors. I've seen red, black, yellow, and I think there was a blue or something. But these things are really cool because they fit perfectly into, well, actually you can see, here's a 5-position terminal strip, and you can see, I buy
those are really nice.
I buy the ones that have 12, and then I just snip them off if I'm going to use them for anything less than 12.
Where were those things when I went to college?
Well, you know, Hobby, I showed earlier, I showed up there how I made all those little loopy things with wire.
Yeah.
That's before I found those other things.
Those things are fantastic. Everybody use tons of them.
Dang, I wish I'd have found those before, because that really makes it nice. So you can see here I've got
You and me both. When I got my bachelor's in electronics, they were, there weren't anything such things as surface mount or anything. Well, they were beginning. It was all big, huge components and big, huge terminal clips. That would have saved me a lot of wire.
Yeah, these are really, and this stuff is cheap. It's all none of this stuff is that I'm showing you is very expensive. You buy them, you get this whole bag of them for just $5 or $6, I think. So here I've got my power supply. Again, it's got the 110 feed coming in to power this, and then I've got the 5 volts coming over here, and I just hooked it up to a strip to give me a few places to get 5 volts from. Instead of trying to, now the reason I do that, as you might guess, there's a place to get 5 volts up here on this breakout board, but it's a whole lot easier to make one of these, and instead of trying to cram 4 or 5 wires under that little bitty screw terminal, because you're probably never going to do it. I usually stick one in there and, where I need it, and then get all the rest of them from here. As long as it's getting 5 volts, that's all that matters. So, all right, so we've got the black, that's the 5 volts, then it jumps over again to the third slot, which is the direction plus 5 volts. And then the second one over, which I said is the red wire here, it is the pulse negative, and it goes up to whichever pin, it's either going to be 2, 4, 6, or 8, because that's what the
Yep.
X, Y, Z, and A. And then finally on the fourth spot here, that is the direction minus. So it's
Right.
going to come up here and go to either 3, 5, 7, or 9, which is going to be the direction pins for these 4 axes.
Yep.
So another thing I might mention, I told you about this pin up here, this breakout board. The setup I'm using here, and I can even show this thing running and even show you my Mach 3 screen with a screen share, because I'm running it on the same computer that I'm doing this live stream with. But this particular thing, this is about a 10 or 15 foot parallel cable, and I'm using, because the computer I'm using doesn't have parallel port, I'm using a UC100 that's laying over here on the floor. And then I've got the parallel cable connected to that. Well, this particular breakout board didn't have the correct, let's see if I can get it off of here. Come on. Okay, it's got a female plug right here for the 25 pin, and of course this is a female, so I had to use a gender changer, which this came, I'm trying to think where, I think this came with my UC100. Trying to remember where I got it. Either that or it came with the breakout board, I'm not sure. But anyway, again, there's a link to these things in the description. So I just pop that on, which changes the gender, and then I can connect my parallel cable. All right, so let's talk about this breakout board a little bit more. This breakout board also needs power. You'll notice there's a red and a white wire here. This first terminal here, and I'm thinking y'all can see that. That first terminal there where I've got that red wire, that's a 5 volts plus. And then you got a ground here on this one. And you can see what I did is I got my 5 volts from this little terminal block down here. I ran a white wire up here for the ground and the red wire up there to to the plus 5 volts, and then these jumpers right here make this where this whole board is one thing. You can split it up. If you pull those jumpers off, you have another 5. You can use 2 power supplies, or you can use 1 to do the whole thing. So that's what I've got there. Let's see, are we missing anything? Anybody have any questions about anything I've shown so far?
I don't see any yet.
Okay, I'm probably going to maybe do a short video, because I tell you the problem that so many people have, including myself, if you're not an electronic guy like me, is there are a ton of YouTube videos, but they'll have maybe they'll have the same drivers you have, but they have a totally different breakout board. Or they got the same breakout board, but totally different drivers. Or, there's always something. It's hard to find the right combination for the components that you have. And again, it's you watch all these videos and you go, okay, well, I see how that goes, but now that part's different, so that doesn't apply to me.
Yep.
So it's really hard to find this. So again, like I said at the top of the show, this is not a one size fits all.
Yep.
This is how this works with these drivers.
Right. There are some drivers that actually use only 2 cables, and positive and negative is the direction and the step pulsed. I mean, there's, this is probably the most standard, but there's a bunch of different ones. Keith was asking about why do some people use white wire as ground? Again, that's different conventions for different places. In 12 volt systems, white is actually positive, and particularly in the wiring of recreational vehicles and stuff like that, and black is ground. So you just got to know the codes.
Yeah, that's why I was saying, as you look at this, don't say, oh, well, they put the green wire from there to there. No, don't worry about what color this wire is. Know that it's going from this direction minus up to pin 3. That's more. You need to know it's going from what to what, and don't worry about what color wire it is. I did try to use, even though I'm using green for green for the direction, I use green for the direction on all of these, and I use red for the step on all of these. I use black for that little jumper and to get the 5 volts on all of them. So I did keep that similar, but this wire could be pink or purple. It wouldn't matter. It's still going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's more important that you know where it's got to go in this.
Grant was asking if your BOB requires 12 volts. The breakout board.
No, it does not. It requires 5.
Yeah.
This is a 5 volt.
Yep. Yeah.
You can also, and again, I went ahead and bought these because, for one, they're cheap. They're not that much, and you can use a terminal block, and now you've got a whole bunch of places where you can connect wires. But as far as running just this, some people will take like an old phone charger or some kind of little wall wart type thing and cut the wires and just take your meter and check to make sure which one's positive and which one's negative, and you can use those in there as well.
Yeah, one thing that's important, whether it's 5 or 12 or 48 or 36, make sure you don't mix power supplies, and don't think to yourself, oh, I'm going to get 3, one for each different thing. Sometimes they interact with each other, and it's not supposed to be that way, but sometimes they actually share the load, and at that point you'll be shorting the power supplies with each other. And I'd just like to mention that would be very, very careful when it comes to the circuit, to the logic of the circuit.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm sitting here staring at this, and I don't think there's anything that I missed. Again, is there any questions over there? Somebody want me to show a better close up of something, or
Hey, Joe had asked a question. Is there an easy way to use a USB cable without messing with a parallel cable?
well, if you get a UC 100 or a UC 300 or 400 or whatever, you're using a parallel connection from your computer. I'm sorry, a USB connection from your computer, but it's still running to a parallel to here, unless you get one of those. I mean, there's different kinds of setups. There's some that use DB9 connections. There's some that use Ethernet connections. So it really just depends on, what kind of setup you want to get. This is probably still the most common because even though the parallel port is pretty much gone from computers, it's still real popular in, driving CNC stuff.
Yeah, you've got 25 pins with the breakout with the parallel cable, and many of which are have sensor values, positive or negative 5 volts, and input or output, and many are adjustable. So it's whereas a USB, universal serial bus, it's a serial cable, so you're talking about information on basically 2 wires, the data. So that's the reason why parallel is used for most equipments and those type of systems.
Yeah, and this setup that I'm showing y'all tonight, this is strictly just powering up and driving these stepper motors, which you can see I got some pretty little tape on them so you can see them spin later. But this breakout board here, and again, I've got a close-up picture. I'm only using right here. It starts on the far right on this bottom row. That's pin 2. It goes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which stops right here. And then it jumps to pin 14, pin 1, pin 16, pin 17. There's another ground out here on the very end. You notice I don't have anything here. This is where you would set up your homing limit switches, an E-stop, a touch plate, that kind of stuff. Because this has, starting at the top going down, it's got P13, 12, 11, 10, P15, and then a ground there. So,
and Peter just put it said it best. He said sooner or later you have to break out into multiple pins to connect steppers, switches, etc. All different functions, including lasers on and off, and things like, and switches and relays. And the only way to avoid something like a breakout board or something like a parallel cable type breakout board is a controller that has all those connections built in. And well, it's the same thing. It's just I like to see it all expanded, and it's more do it yourself this way.
Yeah, and I guess another thing I probably should mention, let me see if I can get a view where I'm showing pretty much all of this right here. Let's talk about money. This right here, I haven't even looked recently, Javi. I don't know if you know what's a 36 volt power supply.
I'll tell you shortly.
This was all a kit, but let's just figure out about how much money's stuck on this board right here if we bought them all individually.
Yeah, let's see. 36 volt power supply, $15.55. That's for a small one. Switching $29, about $30.
Okay, so
on average, again, they range.
Yeah, that's about what I was thinking.
25. I've seen them here for 25, 400 watt.
So we got $50 or $60 right here in power supplies.
Yeah.
This power supply, a little 5 volt, I think this one was like $10 or less when I bought it.
Yeah.
This breakout board, and one's very similar, $15-20 is all that is.
Yep.
These drivers separately, I'd have to go to Stepper Online to get an exact number. Well, I don't even want to guess. Maybe
I'll look for you.
Okay.
Keep going.
And also, while you're there, Javi, I know the stepper motors. I was looking earlier. Well, I've got those links down below. Is how I
27 between $27 and $30
for the 542.
Yep. The
Okay, so maybe $100 worth of drivers there for all four of them, give or take.
Yep.
And then the stepper motors, I think, are like $25 or $30 a piece at Stepper Online.
the 542 is $35. That's a little steeper, but
okay, so 35. So we got $140 worth of drivers right here. The stepper motors, these are from an old Xylotex kit, but
they're usually 22 in that range.
Yeah, and this is the 4 25-ounce. And I've got a link, like I said.
Well, yeah, to put it simply, 4-axis CNC, 4 stepper motors, 4 drivers, and the 2 power supplies are $269 here, between $250 and $275.
Now, is that if you buy it from the U.S.?
That's yeah.
If you buy it from China and wait on the slow boat, but
yeah, this is from Stepper Online.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So not a whole bunch of money on there. I mean, if you like doing this kind of thing, I only, you should have heard some of the custom that went on when I was doing this, because I just don't like fiddling with wires. These little connectors, it seems like, especially this one here, where you've got 6 wires, and of course, once you connect the 2 wires from the power supply, now when you're working with it, you can only pull it so far out to get the other ones in. And since I'm using these cables like this, there's only this much of the wire sticking out. So trying to get them all stuck in there, and you get them tightened and you think you got them, you go pop it back in and one pops out. And I don't know, some guys like that kind of stuff. It's not my thing. I can do it if I have to, but
yeah. If you enjoy
my type of guy, I'd rather pay somebody else to do the soldering and all that kind of stuff, and have it, because I just want to get it, run my machine, and start making.
Yeah, if you enjoy learning about it, well, you could always learn about it even having somebody else do it. But if you enjoy learning about it and want to save a little bit of money, you'll probably save between $100 and $200 if you put it all together yourself. And so, it's a difference in cost between, say, around the $300 to $400 range and around the $450 to $500 range, purchasing it as a
exactly. I mean, that's basically what you're doing, is you're paying what somebody charges to take all this stuff and figure all this out for you and put it together in a nice little package.
Yep.
To me, if it's $100 or $150 more, that's well worth the extra money to get it plug and play versus spending my time doing all this. But a lot of guys live for this stuff, and that's what they want to do. They want to build their own controller. They like getting an enclosure and laying it all out and making it nice and tidy and all that, and that's cool. I get that. But for me, it's not my thing. I'd rather plug it in and get the machine going and get to making parts or project or whatever. All right. Do I need to stay here? Any other questions while I still got the camera moved here? If not, I'm going to switch it back and I'll show the close-up of that breakout board. You can because I know you can't read any of this stuff from.
Yeah, Peter was talking about the alternative, the Gecko. The G540 would be the cleanest setup with only a 48-volt power supply, and the UC100, but it is more expensive. So it's again, it's that age-old how fast do you want to go, and what's
money, how fast can you afford to go?
Yeah, how fast can you afford to go, and how much work do you want to save and how much money you want to spend?
Okay, well, I'm gonna cut my camera off so I don't make everybody dizzy, and I'm gonna move it back, and we will. I'll show that screenshot to give everybody a close-up view or a picture of the breakout board.
Yep.
Crickets. I was going to have a second webcam set up so that I wouldn't have to do what I'm doing right now, but it apparently has hit the floor one too many times.
Yeah. Let's see. Raymond was asking me if I could discuss how ground loop could be an issue. I kind of don't want to get that complex, but I'll try to put it as simple as I can. Ground loop is when 2 grounds of a circuit are intended to be grounded, but there's a difference in voltage between them, and they can cause noise, they can cause interference, and they can cause signals. So I won't go any further than that, other than again go back to checking the logic of your if you're creating the circuit yourself and you have multiple supplies, or that's getting a little more into the electrical engineering side, as opposed to simple putting together electronics. So that's why.
Okay, I'm going to do a screen share real quick here. This is a picture I found online that is exactly like the breakout board that I'm using. So you can see that you got your X step, extraction, Y step, blah, 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 all the way down. So you're using pins 2 through 9, which we know that in Mach 3, that's settings they use. And down here is where I was talking about. They're showing how you can use your limit switch or homing switches. You got an E-stop. You could use one of these for, touch plate, same kind of deal. Of course, your parallel cable goes here, and then here's where you bring in the 5-volt and the ground from your power supply. This is the 2 jumpers I was talking about. It says jumper 1 and 2 must be inserted to use the single 5-volt power source. So there's 2 jumpers, still even kind of hard to see from that picture. But oops, let's see if I can make it a little bigger. But there's 2 jumpers right there that are in place. And this, like I said, this isn't, there's a lot of different breakout boards, but they're all pretty similar to this. Some of the newer ones have a USB thing on there too, which makes it nice.
Yeah, and one thing I will say about breakout boards is, like this one, for instance, it's got circuits. To put it simply, it's going back to the subject of isolation, and it's got circuits in there which will prevent, or at least deter, the signals, accidental signals going backfeeding through your parallel port, because you could actually just have a simple what is the most basic breakout board, which is nothing more than the a male and a female and just terminals on each of the 25 wires. That's a true breakout board with no components in between. But every time you attach to one of them,
I think what do they call it? Optically isolated circuits, I think is what they call it.
It's not. This one's not optical, but yeah, they isolate them with transistors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody done staring at that
I like it. I enjoy staring at that. I'm weird that way.
Okay, so yeah, basic rule: thou shalt only ground one end of a shielded cable.
Yep.
Good point, Peter. Excellent point.
Yep.
I've got just so I can prove that I didn't get any gray smoke or anything when I wired this up. I can run it for y'all. Like I said, I'm running a UC100 going to the USB port right on the front of this desktop computer. We've got like about a 15-foot parallel cable running up there to the breakout board. And you can probably see, even from this far away, that there are some green power lights. You can see the 5-volt power supply has one. Each driver has one. It also has a red LED, which is the alarm. So if you've got something not right, you'll have that red light. Also notice on the breakout board, there is a little LED right there. Now, even before I connected that 5 volts from that power supply, that LED would light up, but it would be really dim. And I think it's getting the 5 or probably the less than 5 from the USB port because it's all connected from that UC100. But that's why you got to have 5 volts to give it enough power to do all the stuff it has to do. I know I'm getting real technical there, but anyway, so you gotta have that 5 volts. So that LED is much brighter with that on there. So I've got Mach 3 open right here, and this all works. Can y'all see the little tape on the motors down there? I've actually got a little program loaded up here. I won't make you watch all of that. Anyway,
Hang on, let me extrapolate what it's making.
anybody
That's your test pattern.
Anybody that can guess, watching those things spin around, what the program is, you're pretty good. But yeah, it all works.
Hey, Dave. Patrick wants to know if he could get the file for that.
Well, he wins the prize then because he must know that that's a hold down is what I'm running.
Yeah,
that's what it is. But also notice too, whenever the Y moves, the A moves too, because as we all know, that's what runs the Y axis. The A and the Y are synced together, so every time one moves, they both move, and they're both moving in the same direction.
Yeah. Now, next time you do this type of show, Dave, I want you to program something with some real melody behind it, where the steppers, depending on the speed and the pitch, actually play a tune.
They do kind of make a musical sound. I imagine if you were running an Aztec calendar or something, because that's got a lot of up, down, and jumping around. I imagine that might make some kind of music. I don't know. One thing I do want to point out before I forget, I'll just stop this and. Yeah, one thing I do want to mention is I have, anybody that knows me knows I'm a long time Xylotex plug and play user. And I got this all wired up, you know, and I'd watch some YouTube videos, and again, you can't find the right combination that's got everything. But I found one guy that had stuff fairly close, so I got, you know, because one of the problems people have buying these kits from China off Amazon and AliExpress and this kind of stuff is the documentation sucks. It sucks big time. They you know, it's either in Chinglish or the wire colors. Or I saw guys, I watched YouTube videos and guys were talking about how the instructions they got, they'd say, well, you connect the yellow wire here, and there wasn't even a yellow wire on anything that he got in that kit.
Nice.
So that's one reason why I say don't worry about the color of wire, know where it's got to go. So the documentation really sucks on this stuff, and it's hard to figure it out. So I got all the wiring done, and I sat back and I was real proud of myself, and I'm thinking, all right, let's load this. Let's turn the you know, load in a machine profile. Of course, I was using the Gatton CNC profile because I was out there at the time. I had this on my table, and I was just using my little kiosk that I used to run the Gatton CNC. So I get ready to turn it on, and you know, hear a little thunk, and the motors lock up, and I'm like, okay, good. There's no gray smoke or anything, so that's always a good sign. But I couldn't get it to do anything. It wouldn't jog. When I jogged, the DRO on Mach 3 would change. So, you know, and I sat around and, you know, I'm thinking, okay, well, I must have something wrong. So I go back and I check, and I double check, and I triple check my wiring, and I can't find a thing wrong. And all right, I'm just going to forget it. I'm going to go in. I'm going to eat dinner. I'm going to worry about it tomorrow. Come back out, and maybe the light bulb will come on overnight. So I came in, ate dinner, and got watching some more YouTube videos. And I thought, oh, there's something that's a little different. Let me try that. So the next morning I went out there, and I think I'm real positive. I'm like, this thing's going to work now. I get out there and I do that, whatever it was. I don't even remember now. And I still got nothing. And then I'm like, man, this is crazy. Okay, now can y'all hear that noise?
Yep.
Maybe.
Heard a little bit.
What that is, these power supplies have a fan in them, but that fan doesn't run until it gets hot or warm. So it's apparently got above the temperature. So now I think it's just one of them, the top one.
One of them cranked on here.
One of them kicked on. So that's what that noise is. But anyway, so I'm out there, and I'm like, man, I'm just so frustrated. And this is why I don't like doing this kind of stuff. I'd rather somebody else have the headache, and I just get it and plug it in, know it works. Well, then all of a sudden it dawned on me. I'm like, oh, you idiot. And again, like I said, I'm a longtime Xylotex user. And all the kits from Xylotex, from when I first started buying them 10, 12, 15 years ago, let's see, nearly 15 years ago now, they always run the steppers. When you set up the steppers, you always leave the little X in the box because they run active high. These need to have that green check in that box to run active low. So I put the green check in the box. Boom. That's all it was. So here I was spending all my time staring at my wiring, thinking I screwed something up. And it wasn't that at all. I didn't have the settings. And it's because I already had that profile, and I was, you know, I loaded it up, and I thought, well, that should work. The pins are all the same. You know, I'll just turn off the limit switches and all because I don't have any of that connected. So that's all it was. So, yeah, you have to check your wiring, but you also have to think about the setting. And again, like I said, the documentation sucks on some of this stuff. You don't know that. I actually had got back online and I ran across an old thread in CNC Zone, and somebody was having the same kind of problem that I did, saying, "Hey, I got it all wired up, the motor's locked up, but I can't get it to move." And there were several comments, "Well, try this, try this, try that." And finally, one guy said, "Well, you may have them set to active high, and they may need to be set for active low.
Check your polarity."
And when I saw that, I'm like, let me go try it. And sure enough, that's all it was. So for that, I don't know how many hours I spent staring at that stupid thing, looking at wiring, thinking I must have something wrong. It was right all along. And I just didn't think about the Mach 3 settings. So what are we doing on time here?
9:30.
Okay.
9:27.
I guess we're wrap this up. If anybody's got any questions, like I said, I just want to keep it, well, not necessarily simple, but just the basic setup. That'll get you running. There's no homing switches, none of that. If you want, we'll do something with that on another show and show how to do wire, put into limit switches and homing or touch plate, e-stop, that kind of stuff. Although to me that stuff really isn't that hard, even for me, and because it's only 2 wires, so it's not near as hard as doing all that. I don't see any.
Stephen wanted to know about the dip switches. On
we didn't. Yeah,
on the drivers. Mm-hmm.
We didn't cover that. Did we? All right, let me. Let me see if I've got these switches. I want to get them the same as. Get a little thing here to. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to, probably not be able to read this. Can you read that numbering on the blue or not? I don't think you can. I can't. Anyway, looking at my screen here. Oh, yeah, maybe you can. If I hold it real still, it'll come up. All right, so anyway, starting.
Yeah, 1 through 8.
Okay, starting over here, that's 1. You can see I've got 1, 2, 3
are up,
and they're up, which is off.
Off. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so holding it in this orientation, up is off, down is on. So you see I got 1, 2, 3 off, 4, 5, and 6 are on. 7 is off, and then 8 is on. Okay, now what that means, if you look at this, yeah, see, they put this print so damn small on here. Probably not going to be able to read it, but I'll tell you what it says. This section here shows you, pertains to switches 1 through 4. Well, really 1 through 3. And depending on how you have them set, that's how you set your peak amps. This is for, again, I had 1, 2, and 3 are off. They're flipped off. And down at the very bottom of this chart, off, off, and off, which is 1, 2, and 3 all off, means that the peak current is 4.2 and the RMS is 3 amps.
Yep.
So that's what that's set at. The switch 4 just has a note here where if it's off, it means you're running at half current. And if it's on, you're running at full current, I should say. And I've got it flipped on. So I've got it running right now at full current. Okay. Then these next 4 switches, 5 through 8, 5, 6, 7, and 8, allow you to set up the pulses per revolution. And it goes all the way as low as 400 and all the way as high as 25,000 on this particular chart. I have mine set. Let's see, 5, 6, and 8 is off or on, and 7 is the only one off. So I have mine set to 3,200 pulses per revolution. So I have 5 on, 6 on, 7 off, and 8 on. And that's one of the reasons why these particular drivers, let me grab the better one, the step online. That's one reason why these are really nice drivers, because you can use this same driver with a lot of different motors.
Yep.
You know, because you can change the settings to make it match what your motor calls for. So that's one thing I really like about these. So, any questions on the dip switches?
Don't see anything there.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Make sure you click the thumbs up button if
Would the Brett is asking, would the 3200 replace the 6400 setting in Mach 3? No.
No.
You have to match one with the other. Well,
Here, you got to remember the 6400 setting. This 3200 is for basically a 1/16 step. And the 6400 number that you put in Mach 3 has to do with more than just this number. It also has to do with what kind of lead screws you got, all that kind of stuff.
How many revolutions? What is it for the inch? The one in Mach 3?
Yeah. So, and see, I use the 5-start lead screw, so it's 2 revolutions per inch. So that's why you put 6400 in Mach 3, but you would have this set for 3200, which is a 16th step.
Or half an inch of travel on the half inch on the particular threaded rod that's used in the Gatton.
Yeah.
Or the garage works.
That's a good question. Another thing, seems like there was something else I was going to point out in Mach. Oh, talking about Mach 3. I have probably on 2 or 3 different places on the website, I'll have a button that'll say Mach 3 settings, and you can click on it and it's got screenshots. Here's the thing. Those screenshots are pretty much perfect if you're using the Xylotex plug and play kit. But if you're doing your own thing, some of those settings are good, like the pin settings, 2 and 3 for the X, 4 and 5 for the Y, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all still good settings. But when you get to some of those other settings that I have on there, they're not going to work. Well, they may or may not work for your own kind of setup. So I just want to, it's hard to put settings that is a one size fits all. That's why I always recommended a Xylotex plug and play kit, because I knew that it was always going to be the same. My lead screws are always going to be the same. So I knew what settings you could put in. And the only thing that might be different is let me turn that off. It's loud to me. I don't know if it's, may not be that loud to y'all. The only thing that might be different is when I build my machines, I always have the X-axis stepper motor on the right-hand side. Well, some people, depending on their shop, maybe they want to shove it in a corner over here and they want to be able to get to that motor. So they move it and flip the uprights and put it on the other side. Well, then you're probably going to have to change that reverse
direction.
Greg, was in the homing / soft limits thing, not the directive, the active high and low.
Greg was asking if you set your motor amps to peak or RMS on the stepper. Well, I think you just showed you have both settings.
Yeah, it's got.
Does you mean on Mach 3? Because there's both settings on the stepper. One is yeah, isn't there? Didn't you just say that?
Well, this chart on here, and again, I can hold it up here, but I don't think you'll be able to read it. Maybe you can.
Yeah.
Maybe if give it a minute, it may focus.
That's RMS on top.
Well, it says peak in the first column and then RMS in the second column.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
So if you only know one or the other, you can still figure out.
Oh, gotcha. Now I understand why he asked that.
Yeah, it says at the top of this, it says the peak equals RMS times 1.4.
Yeah, it depends how safe you want to play it. RMS or root mean squared is basically the continuous amperage. Peak, you don't want to run it at peak for a long time, but
yeah, but you're probably not going to.
Exactly.
So, all right, good question. I see Patrick's asking something about the cost. Was he not here when we were talking about that earlier?
No, he
what did we say? We got about $140 worth of drivers, $60 worth of power supply, so that's $200. That power supply, I think, was about $10 or $15. The breakout board, what did we say? $20, 25 tops probably for a breakout board.
Yeah, it's between $300 and $400. Do it yourself. It's between $400 and $500 if you have it built. I mean, average.
Yeah. Now, if you buy, I'm talking about if you just bought everything onesie twosie off of Amazon, but if you go to Stepper Online and you buy their 4-axis kit, what did we say it was? $260.
It was $269, but it doesn't include the breakout board or the small power supply or the 5-volt power supply.
Okay.
But
so you're still going to have
after a breakout board.
Yeah, you still
terminal.
have to add a breakout board, and if you're dirt cheap, you can use a power, one of the phone charger things that does 5 volts or something.
Yeah, and you don't need a terminal strip. You just big wire nut with all the wires wrapped together.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Those terminal strips, because those things, they're back here. They're so cheap, and all this stuff is so cheap, and it just makes life so much easier, especially for somebody like me who doesn't like doing wiring anyway. These things are fantastic. So yeah, you're not going to have a bunch of money tied up in it. I had some, I'm not going to go into it tonight, but I had some limit switches here. Maybe we'll do that on the next show, talk about adding. And again, I want to mention, I know we're getting on here. As I mentioned at the top of the show, for those of you who may have tuned in late, I'm going to start doing the show a little bit different instead of trying to do it every stinking Saturday night. I tell you, I just got too busy with other things to commit to a show every single Saturday night. But I want to try to do them like twice a month, first and third Saturday. Again, if you missed the top of the show, the third Saturday in March is the 16th, which is the wood show in Atlanta. So I won't be doing one then, but probably try to do one with Jat and talk about the Masso after on the 23rd. But what I want to do is, I think I started talking about it earlier and probably got sidetracked, but some of this stuff we've talked about multiple times on multiple shows. And we're not going to be able to get away from that. But what I want to do is I want to do a show where I'm either showing or we're talking about discussing what you guys want to hear. So what I'm basically saying is, if I do a show the first Saturday of the month, the show for the next Saturday, which would be the third Saturday, I'm going to do a show based on what questions people ask me, what kind of topics I see on the Facebook chatter and stuff like that. If there isn't any, I won't do a show. I mean, I'm not going to get on here and just for y'all to see my pretty face and stuff. Y'all are probably sick of that anyway. But I encourage anybody who's got any question, no matter how stupid you think that question is, go ahead and ask it, because there's probably somebody else that's wanting to know the same thing but's too scared to ask. So whatever y'all tell me you want to see, that's what I'll try to do. I want to try to start doing more shows from the garage. I'll run my 75 foot of Cat 5 down the hallway, run it out to the garage so I get a good signal out there. And if y'all want to see me run something on the machine, if it's you got a program and you're having problems, it won't run right on your machine, send it to me. Send me the VCAR file or whatever. We'll straighten it out. We'll do a show, explain what was wrong on it and why it ran, and we'll run the thing. That kind of thing. So it's basically, it's not really my show anymore. It's y'all's show. So whatever y'all want to see, I'll make an effort and try to do it just like this. I didn't really want to do this, but I knew there's a lot of questions and stuff. And I thought, well, maybe if I can break it down and show every little wire. And again, I'm probably going to do a short YouTube video with a camera right up close, getting close to everything where everybody can see.
I have a request, Dave.
What's that?
You always have the occasional show and tell. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see a show and tell of people's actual designs in their for those that haven't used the or just of the tables of the various Gatton tables, or of the actual design of the like you have behind you, the because I mean, like Mike Mertzke has that gorgeous setup in his, and some people it's just mishmash of wires, but still nice.
It's funny you mention that, because Mike Mertzke, and I've seen some others where everything is so meticulous, lined up and everything. And this, I feel bad because this is so sloppy. But part of the problem is, and again, getting back to the YouTube videos that you try to watch to see how people do it, people won't do a YouTube video like I do with it just laying out on a board where you can see stuff. They're going to do it after they've already put everything in the enclosure and it's all neat and tidy, and you can't get the camera in there to see.
Right.
So they're kind of pointing to it with their finger, but you're like, well, I can't see. What is that connected to? And if they don't say it, you don't know.
Yep.
And that's why I wanted to do this one, even as sloppy as it is. I can point to wires and you can see. And like I said, don't worry about what color wire it is. Just know that it goes from this point. Here's where the other end of it goes. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want to do. But I'll probably do a short YouTube video, kind of quick summary. But again, like I've said before, this is not a one size fits all type deal. It's what I think is going to be a pretty common setup, because these are very common drivers. Mm-hmm. They're cheap. Stepper motors are cheap. Power supplies are cheap. Breakout boards, even though you might not get that exact same one, it's probably going to work pretty much the same way. There's not going to be that big a difference there.
Yeah, everything's cheap until it all adds up, and that's the beauty of the Gatton, is that you can pay for it in pieces.
Well, I would since you mentioned the Gatton CNCs, I would love to have a show. I don't know how many people would be willing to do it, but I would like to have a show where we have a full panel of Gatton CNC users, and everybody's, hopefully they've got a webcam and microphone and good internet where they can be in their shop and show everybody's CNC, see how they routed the drag chain, or maybe they didn't even use drag chain. Maybe they used the Peter Pasquello method of the folding stick or whatever you call that thing. Just different. I think people would enjoy seeing how a lot of people do things differently.
I agree.
So I would invite anyone who wants to come on and be on the show as a panelist here.
I'd clean out my workshop for that.
Okay. Mark Lindsay's he's in. He'll do it.
I'm in.
Have you got internet out there? Well, I guess you do, because you shoot videos out there. Have you got internet out there, or can you run a Cat 5 out the door like I do? Anyway, we'll get Mark on. Anybody else? Like I said, email me or message me or something. Let me know that you want to do that and show off your machine live, not just with a video and stuff.
Patrick can show a pile of parts.
There's a lot of guys
he's never going to get to
parts.
Yeah,
it's amazing to me how long some folks take to get it together. But I know stuff comes up and all that. But
it took me a year before I got around to it.
Okay, somebody's telling me, make sure when you do your power supplies, the black is line and your white is neutral. Well, yeah, is that a standard from somewhere? Is that where he's getting it? All I know, like I said before, you don't need to know the colors necessarily. You just need to know that the neutral here goes to the neutral down here. I mean, I could switch them for you, but I don't think that's going to really help anybody. You need to know what they're going to. Craig Bates says, I wonder how many Gatton CNCs have been
built.
Supposed to be built. There's a lot of well, it's in the hundreds. That's how many I've sold
easily.
I don't know how many of them are built, because a lot of them are like Patrick's and still in the box, I think. But yeah, there's a few hundred out there. What if you don't have a Gatton CNC? Well,
switch to a different channel.
You got time to buy one.
I know it takes maybe a week to put it together.
Okay, Stephen D says, for residential power, black is hot and white is neutral. Okay. Well, if that's a standard, then I'll switch them. I don't know how I came up with what I did, because I got black is neutral.
Yeah. By the way, Keith, I was joking around, because I also I have a second CNC that's not a Gatton. But well, if you don't have a Gatton, consider a second CNC that is a Gatton.
Yeah. Yeah, the main reason I want to do a show have Gatton CNC folks on is to show off their builds, so that people that are wanting to build them or thinking about building them can get different ideas of things they've done. Mark's got of course he did build videos with his, and he's got the unique, it's not unique anymore because everybody copied it, but it's got that cutout in the front where he can put his rotary axis, which I'm still anxiously awaiting videos to see that thing go. black is often called line, but it's usually called low. Okay, somebody out there is an electrician or something like that. See, I don't know any of that stuff. All I know is if you put this wire on this end, you better put it on the same thing on that end, or you're going to be in trouble. So
No, you just have a couple of fireworks happen.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, so we'll do like I said, let me know who wants to get on the bandwagon here. We'll as long as you got a webcam and some decent internet, we can do a show showing off your build. I can't believe more people don't want to show them off anyway, because there's some really beautiful looking machines out there. Not that makes them run any better, but there's some really good ones. I wouldn't take $1 million for mine right now, and it's one of the ugliest ones out there. It's, I stained some of it, and some of it I went ahead and did, and then thought, I'll come back stain it, and I never did.
That's a cool custom machine.
But it runs like nobody's business, and I wouldn't take $1 million for it right now. Well, maybe $1 million, but All right, I guess we're going to get out of here. Let's see, what is this? You will only be able to read peak if you have a oscope or peak reading meter. Peak is the top of the sine wave. You have both, but your steppers may only be listed with one of the other. Yeah, but that's what I was saying. The information they give you, it gives you the peak or the RMS on here. So as long as you know one of those, you know how to set this. And you can either set it conservatively or risky, or however you want.
Or risky, yeah.
But all right, well, I guess we're going to wrap this up. Let me mention one more time for those who might have missed this, all the folks that came in late. We've been talking about all of this back here. And this is from Xylotex. This is it's not a plug and play kit technically. It's because he's out of steppers, but it is everything but stepper motors. So if you don't want to do all of this is still a great deal, because you get this already wired. All you have to do is add your stepper motors, and then you're only talking about adding 4 wires to each driver right here. You got 4 drivers. You got the breakout boards already wired. He's got a couple of fans. He's got the 40. I think this is a.
Frankie says, good luck getting on a plane with that, Dave.
This is a 36 volt power supply on this one, which I find that kind of odd, because this one
Drew Oxford just came in and I'm surprised that there's someone later than the Patricks.
Oh, Ox in the shop. How you doing, Drew? Anyway, like I said, this right now currently goes for $185. So you can spend $185 and get this. Buy 4 stepper motors from wherever, Stepper Online or wherever you want. And within a few minutes of wiring those, you'll be in business, as opposed to what it did there. $185, $15 shipping, so $205 total to your door.
Yep.
And like I said, I've been using Xylotex for years. I know some of you guys probably get tired of hearing me say that, because but I can't badmouth them, because they always work. I've had great luck with them. The only one I've ever messed up was because I messed up. It wasn't any fault of their product. So anyhow, we're running on here. These other shows, like I said, we're going to start doing the shows twice a month instead of, and they'll probably be longer shows. So like I said, if you want to see me do something with the machine or with the software, or maybe you want to see CNC software again, I've still got that. Whatever you want to see, you let me know and I'll try to do it. If I don't get anybody tell me what to do, and I don't have something that I'm planning on, I won't do a show. Simple as that. One thing I will say though, don't send me an email at 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening and say, hey, can you do this on your thing? Because I may not have time to get the material, or, whatever it is, I got to have time to get prepared for it to be able to do it right. So just let me know.
Yep.
Peak versus RMS is a different way to measure AC power. It's not how hard you are running it. Okay.
Yeah, but if you, yes, but if you set it to if you set it to peak and call it RMS, then you're running it harder.
Yeah. Whatever. You
Yeah.
guys know that stuff, not me. All I know is I know what it's supposed to be set at by either one or the other, and that's what I set.
Yep.
All right. So thanks everybody, man. We still got 91 folks watching. You guys are awesome. I appreciate y'all so much. We
Thumbs up button.
Yeah, we even had a couple sneak in here and give me a thumbs down. So thank you. I thank them too. It's all good. Up, down, don't matter to me. Mark Lindsay says, and this is why I'm a plug and play guy. Yeah, me too. If you go, there was somebody, I don't remember who it was, and if I did remember, I probably wouldn't mention their name because I don't like to embarrass anybody, or not really embarrass them, but they might not want me mentioning their name live. But somebody the other day had bought a plug and play kit from I'm not even going to mention the company, but another company that makes machines and stuff. And I think they bought an extra stepper motor and maybe an extra driver or something for to add another axis later on down the road. But he said he spent like $2,000. And I'm like, man, $2,000. There's got to be a half a dozen different options that would be less than that.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, to each his own. If that's what he wanted to do. But I mean, it's not like it's on a Laguna either. We're talking about a Gatton CNC builder.
Yeah.
So you buy a kit that all total we say what you're going to have between $1,250 and $1,500 less software and computer, and you spend $2,000 on
cost double the machine.
Yeah. So now you got. I mean, if you got the money and you're happy with that, go for it. But I just thought that was odd that he spent that kind of money like that. I would have rather spent $500 or $600 on a controller or built something like this and built my own box and all, and then use that other money for router bits and material and all that stuff. But that's just me.
Yep.
Okay. Ox says, I have the Xylotex too, but do they still sell that? All right. I'll show it one more time. Here's what he's selling right now, Drew. He still offers this, which is the 4 drivers. This is a 4-axis kit, less stepper motors. He's out of stock on stepper motors, but he sells this for $185, $15 shipping, and all you'd have to do is wire the stepper motors, which is not that hard, to these drivers, and you're good to go. All that other wiring is already done. So, like I said, if you don't want to do this, and you don't want to spend $2,000 or whatever, $800 or $900 on a true plug and play unit, this is still a great option to do. So comes with a breakout board. I mean, it's everything but stepper motors, really. So, all right, we are going to get out of here.
Yep.
Thank you all so much. We haven't done any shout outs. I probably should do that. We had Drew in Oxford from Oxford Shop, Mark Lindsay, CNC, Jerry Coleman, Todd H, CNC, Patrick's Workshop, Grant Clark, Stan Howe,
Joe Liddon, Michael Bell, Peter Pasuelo, Tom Conway, David Mitchell, Todd. You mentioned Todd, I think. Thomas Grin. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, thank you all so much, guys. I spent a lot of time out there trying to put this together and then cussing at it when it didn't work right off the bat. But, I wouldn't do all this stuff that I do if it wasn't for you guys tuning in. Because, if I did all this and there was like, handful of folks out there, probably wouldn't be worth it. But, you guys kind of keep me pumped up. Like I said, send me your questions. Tell me what you want the show to be about. And I'll make, best effort I can to make it happen. All right, Javi, you got anything going on you want to?
No, nothing in the works. Nothing in the works at the moment.
Been enjoying the
property. For those of you who are following along my eventual house build, right now I'm clearing land, chopping trees, and the Make Room for Javi series on Javi's Wood Shop is just put something out on Thursday, and just having a blast every month going up there.
Yeah, well, I enjoy the videos that you've been making. That last one where you had the tree cut down, that was
yep.
My favorite.
Special martial arts tree cutting technique. Yep.
Yeah, Mark Lindsay says, do me a favor and don't accidentally delete this episode. I'll be referring to it again later. Yeah, I'm probably going to take this back out to the garage and prop it back up out there, and then just do like a 4 or 5 minute YouTube video kind of talking about the same thing we've done here, only showing close-ups where somebody would be able to watch that video and actually see the wire and go, oh, I see, it goes from there, and he follows it down and it goes there. So even though, because that's what's missing on YouTube. There's so many people that they're trying to film it and they're looking in their enclosure and it's all crammed in there nice and tight, and you can't see what they're trying to show. Tom Conway has some license plates for me. You're awesome, Tom. I'm not going to say my address right here live, but if you want to send me an email message or a Facebook message or something, I'll be happy to send it to you. I love getting stuff in the mail, especially license plates. Need to talk to you about a 5-axis setup. So you don't have to unplug that. Yeah,
do a switch.
I've done 2 different videos. One many years ago, and then another one probably a year or 2 ago, showing how to do a rotary axis with using the same 4-axis kit, because really when you move the gantry up to position it over the center line of your rotary attachment or lathe or whatever you want to call it, you're not using the Y-axis after that. So you can always cheat and then plug one of those steppers and you just load a new machine profile. That's the cheap way of doing it. Now, the better way to do it would be to have a whole 5th axis driver and stuff like that. But yeah, we can.
You'd still, unless you have a 5-axis controller, you'd still have to switch it over. So, I mean, best thing is just have a 5-way, double pole 4-way switch, and just click, whichever way you want to go. And make sure your profile So you'd put the Y switch, just switch your Y to the to that last stepper, and the A motor on the new profile will be inactive, and you're set.
Yeah, or vice versa, because
You're right.
yeah, you could. The way I always did it, I always
Use the A, yeah.
blue wire, which was the A axis, and then I would set that up. And I agree, Mark. I haven't done it because I don't do a lot of rotary axis stuff, but it does get old having to stop and unplug it. And you have to say, okay, for the next 2 days, I'm going to run my rotary axis. So I'll move it and I'll unplug it and do that. Because if you're just going to do it for a job, then it's a pain in the butt to have to unplug it and do that.
Yeah,
so,
just have it permanently wired and use a switch.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get out of here. Thanks again, everybody. Please hit the thumbs up on the way out. Leave your comments and suggestions or whatever down below, or send me a message, Facebook message, email message, whatever method you like to use, and let me know what you want to see. Like I said, I'll be doing a show. What is today?
Today is the 16th, I believe.
I may do a show next week. Just depends if somebody wants to see something, or maybe we'll do a quick short show showing using this same thing and showing the homing switches and a touch plate and an e-stop. Maybe we could make that a little bit of a show. Maybe do that. But yeah, get me your suggestions, what you want to see, and we'll do it. I don't know if Mike, did he step out?
Or
did he?
Possibly.
He must have stepped out.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, keep little McKenna, in your thoughts and prayers, because she's still got some stuff going on, more treatments and all. So hopefully that'll all go great. Thanks, everybody. We are out of here. Everybody have a great weekend, and good night.
Good night, everyone.